Well, good evening, good Wednesday evening to you. We're here. Yay, that's win number one for tonight, that we made it here. Last week, for those who maybe weren't in the know and they're wondering what happened to the live stream last week, we had to cancel class because our Zoom computer, which actually hosts the students for the class, crashed hard and could not get it booted up until the next day. So I was able to, in the playlist, put in our Chapter 9 presentation from last year. So if you're looking at the playlist going, why is that video in there? That's what happened. So we're very thankful to be back here tonight alive. The computer seems to be working just fine. So hey, yay. So I'm Gary. Ham radio call sign Whiskey 4 Echo Echo Yankee. And yeah, this is a ham radio class, and we're at the very end of the class. We made it our way through this book, the American Radio Relay League License Manual for the Technician class, the 5th edition, 9 chapters in the book. We went through it all, covered all of the test questions and all of the answers, which are also in the back of the book. You can see it all. And then you can get your first amateur radio license in the United States by passing a 35-question multiple choice test. So that's what we're preparing y'all to do. And tonight what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 practice tests together. So I'd like you to go ahead and make sure you've got paper and a pencil or a pen so that you can write down 1 through 35 and put down what you think the right answers are. But before we get started, we were talking in the group before the class, and somebody was commenting that, okay, I'll pass the test, but I won't know anything. Or I'll have a lot to learn still. And that's absolutely true. You get a license to learn when you get your ham radio license. And what I want you to do is to consider, come to the laptop if you would, Marion, find a good local ham club. If there's a club in your area that has members that are active, that are doing things, this can be your best resource. And here is a URL from the American Radio Relay League, their Find a Club. And you can find clubs in your area that are affiliated with the American Radio Relay League, and go and attend some meetings as a guest. And attend one club and go, if there's another club in your area, go to another club. Find the one that is most simpatico to you, because there are, differences. And I want you to find a group that is welcoming, that can help you to get on the air, that can help you to answer questions, because having local people right there with the same interests that you have is just such a wonderful thing, and it's a great part of the hobby, the camaraderie. So find a good local ham club. That's your assignment. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 practice tests. We'll take one, then we'll take our 5-minute intermission, 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and take the other. So we're going to take practice test 16. What? I don't know if you'll notice, but in the handouts folder for last week, there were practice tests. 15 practice tests, because we've been teaching this technician class from this book with this question pool for a while. And so typically we do 3 practice tests for each session that we've given. So there are 15 very valid practice tests in the Dropbox folder for last week, the Chapter 9 folder, that you can take yourself to practice before the test. And I want you to have taken about a dozen practice tests at least to find your strengths and weaknesses. You can also use this as the American Radio Relay League's exam review website. It's free. They do ask you to sign up with an email address so they can tell you how you're doing as far as things you've gotten right and things you've gotten wrong, but you don't have to be an ARRL member, and you can take practice tests and review questions by chapter at this website. So the practice tests we're going to see tonight were generated using this website, so it might look familiar to you. So please get out your piece of paper, number it 1 through 35, and you can then write down A, B, C, or D. whatever you think is the right answer. Because we're doing it here live on the air, I will kind of go ahead at a pace that I think is normal. For some of you, I've got some of your, in the Zoom classroom, I can see you. If you wouldn't mind raising your hand when you're done with that question. And then when I see a number of hands raised, then I know I can move on to the next question. When we're all done at question 35, then I can go back to any question that you want to look at again. No problem whatsoever. You will grade your own papers. We don't need to know how you did, but you can do this. This is the best thing to prep you. So let me just give you the best wishes for good luck, and let's go ahead and begin here. And I won't read the question and answers unless somebody has a problem and can't see it, but I will, when we get to the answer section, I will read the question and the right answer for those who might be watching us on YouTube who might be visually impaired, for example. Also note that if you are visually impaired and you go to a test session, tell them so, and they'll give you an exam that doesn't have the pictorials, which might be hard for you to fathom out if you can't see them. So, okay, so here we go. Here's question 1 in practice test 16. All right, and it's obvious, so answers A, B, C, or D, just remember that on your actual test when you take it, they won't be in the same order. So don't memorize A, B, C, or D. I just mentioned that. All right, here's question 2. Alrighty, and here is question 3. And now question 4. And question 5. And here we go with question 6. And here is question 7. And if I'm going too fast, just unmute and tell me so. And question 8. And question 9. And here we go with question 10. And now, question 11. And here we go with question 12. And now, question 13. Next up is question 14. And I'll just point out, at your actual test session, you'll have as much time as you need. We're just doing a TV show here. All right, here's question 15. And question 16. And question 17. Next up is question 18. And here we go with question 19. Now we have question 20. Here's question 21. And question 22. And question 23. And next up, question 24. And here is question 25. And question 26. Next up, question 27. Here is question 28. And now with question 29, we have a pictorial. What is component 8? And question 30. Question 31. Question 32. And question 33. And here is question 34. And the last question, question 35. So are there any questions you'd like me to go back to? You could take a second look at. Just unmute and let me know. If you're watching us on YouTube, and you can put it in the live chat, I can see that too. Everybody got it? All right, no requests. So let's find out how we did. So here's question 1, or answer 1. What type of radiation are radio signals? A, non-ionizing radiation, 1A. 2, which of the following is a reason to use shielded wire? B, to prevent coupling of unwanted signals to or from the wire, 2B. 3, which of the following indicates that a station is listening on a repeater and looking for a contact? D, the station's call sign followed by the word monitoring, 3D. 4, how many operator primary station license grants may be held by any one person? B, 1, 4B. And 5, what reading indicates that an ohm meter is connected across a large discharged capacitor? C, increasing resistance with time, 5C. And 6, what is the formula used to calculate electrical power in a DC circuit? D, P equals I times E. Power equals current times voltage, 6D. 7, what is an electronic keyer? B, a device that assists in manual sending of Morse code, 7B. And 8, who may be the control operator of a station communicating through an amateur satellite or space station? D, any amateur allowed to transmit on the satellite uplink frequency, 8D. And 9, which of the following can be used to enter a transceiver's operating frequency? D, the keypad or VFO knob, 9D. And 10, what is the relationship between wavelength and frequency? A, wavelength gets shorter as frequency increases, 10A. And 11, what mode of transportation is commonly used by amateur radio satellites? Well, the answer is A, all of these, CW and data, FM, and single sideband. So all of those, 11A. And 12, what is a good way to guard against electrical shock at your station? Again, all of these choices are correct. C, it's connect all AC-powered station equipment to a common safety ground, use 3-wire cords and plugs, and install mechanical interlocks in high-voltage circuits, so 12C. And 13, under what conditions is an amateur station authorized to transmit music using phone transmission or phone emission? A, when it's incidental to an authorized retransmission of manned spacecraft communications. Very old rule, 13A. And 14, are amateur station control operators ever permitted to operate outside the frequency privileges of their license class? D, yes, but only in situations involving the immediate safety of human life or protection of property, 14D. And 15, in which type of circuit is voltage the same across all components? That would be B, a parallel circuit, 15B. And 16, which is equal to 1 microvolt? C, 1/1,000,000th of a volt, 16C. And 17, what is the meaning of the term picket fencing? D, it's rapid flutter on mobile signals due to multipath propagation, 17D. And 18, why is the radio horizon for VHF and UHF more distant than the visual horizon? D, the atmosphere refracts radio waves slightly, 18D. And 19, what does the abbreviation PSK mean? Phase shift keying, 19C. And 20, what is the approximate bandwidth of AM fast scan TV transmissions, the old NTSC standard? It's about 6 megahertz, 20C. And 21, what type of component is often used as an adjustable volume control? That's our old friend the potentiometer, 21D, rotary volume control. And 22, what is standing wave ratio, SWR? A, it's a measure of how well a load is matched to a transmission line, 22A. And 23, which of the following is a valid technician class call sign format? C, KF1XXX, that's a 2x3, 23C. The others were reserved for extra class operators. And what does the abbreviation FET stand for? This is question 24. B, field effect transistor, 24B. And 25, what is an advantage of a 5/8 wavelength whip antenna for VHF or UHF mobile service? B, it has more gain than a quarter wavelength vertical antenna, 25B. And 26, which of the following is good procedure when contacting another station in a contest? A, send only the minimum information needed for proper identification and the contest exchange, 26A. And 27, which of the following is an important safety precaution to observe when putting up an antenna tower? B, look for and stay clear of any overhead electrical wires. Or as I like to say, look up, stupid, 27B. And 28, what is a transceiver? It's a device that combines a receiver and transmitter, 28A. And 29, our pictorial was asking what is a component number 8? That is a light emitting diode, so that's 29C, light emitting diode. And 30, what is a symptom of RF feedback in a transmitter or transceiver? B, reports of garbled, distorted, or unintelligible voice transmissions, 30B. 31, how is a VHF-UHF transceiver's reverse function used? It's used to listen on a repeater's input frequency, 31A. And 32, which of the following causes failure of coaxial cables? Moisture contamination, it's always the water, 32D. And 33, which of the following VHF-UHF band segments are limited to CW only? That's the low end of the 6-meter band and the low end of the 2-meter band. So D, 50 megahertz to 50.1 megahertz and 144 to 144.1 megahertz, 33D. And 34, what describes the number of times per second that an alternating current makes a complete cycle? That's its frequency, 34B. And 35, when must the station and its records be available for FCC inspection? B, at any time upon request by an FCC representative, 35B. So what you need to know is, did you have 26 correct? Or did you have no more than 9 wrong answers? If you did, you pass. So I'm so proud of you so far. You're doing great. You know, when you started the class, maybe you were a little unsure. Come on back to me just for a second, Marion, if you would. But I'm very proud of you. So what I want you to do now is to get up, move around, get a drink of water, stretch, whatever. We'll come back, we'll do it one more time, because this helps with us to remember, and then we'll be all set for the class. So 5 minutes, and we'll be right back. we're back. So glad you had a chance to get up and move around, I hope, and get stretched and whatnot. But we got more fun ahead of us here, another 35 question test, and then we'll get you out early tonight. So that's my promise. Let's go ahead and go back to the laptop, please. This is practice test number 17. These tests, by the way, will be in the Dropbox folder for this class tomorrow morning when I get them uploaded as PDF files. So you can go back over them there if you want to. But again, get out your piece of paper, please. We'll be numbering from 1 to 35. And a maximum luck possible. You can do this. Your brain has got the information. Let's just see if we can get it to the paper. All right, here we go. Here is question 1. All righty, and here is question 2. And next up is question 3. All right. And next up is another schematic, question 4. What is component number 1? And now, question 5. And here is question 6. And now, question 7. And now, question 8. Here we go with question 9. And question 10. Here comes question 11. And now we have question 12. And question 13. And question 14. And question 15. And here we go with question 16. Moving on to question 17. And question 18. And question 19. And question 20. And question 21. And here we go with question 22. And question 23. And question 24. Question 25. And now 26. And what comes next? That would be 27. Here's question 28. And here we go with question 29. Here is question 30. And question 31. Question 32. Question 33. Question 34. And our last question, 35. Are there any that you'd like me to go back to? All right, not hearing or seeing anything. Let's again determine how we did. So here is question 1. When are you required to transmit your call sign, your assigned call sign? D, at least every 10 minutes during and at the end of a communication. 1D. 2, what is the FCC Part 97 definition of a beacon? That's C, it's an amateur station transmitting communications for the purposes of observing propagation or related experimental activities. 2C. 3, how can you determine the length of time that equipment can be powered from a battery? A, divide the battery's ampere-hour rating by the average current draw of the equipment. 3A. 4 is our schematic. What is component number 1? That is B, a resistor. 4B. 5, which of the following is a digital communications mode? All of those, so 5A is the right answer. IEEE 802.11, that's Wi-Fi. Packet radio, and FT8 are all digital modes. And 6, which instrument can be used to determine SWR, or standing wave ratio? A directional watt meter can do that, 6C, by measuring power in the forward direction, then power in the reverse, and doing some computations, so 6C. And 7, when may an amateur station transmit without a control operator? 7A, never. Even repeaters have a control operator, although they may not be on site, so 7A. 8, what is the characteristic appearance of a cold tin lead solder joint? It's a rough or lumpy surface. 8B. And 9, which of the following methods is used to locate sources of noise interference or jamming? That would be radio direction finding, 9A. And 10, which of the following could be the reason you are unable to access a repeater whose output you can hear? Well, all of these. Improper transceiver offset is 1. You're using the wrong CTCSS tone, that's 2, or you're using the wrong DCS code if the repeater uses that. All of those could cause the problem, so 10B. 11, what should you do if something in a neighbor's home is causing harmful interference to your amateur station? Another of all of the above, make sure your station meets the standards of good amateur practice, work with your neighbor to identify the offending device, and then politely inform your neighbor that FCC rules prohibit the use of devices that cause interference. 11D. 12, which of the following types of propagation is most commonly associated with occasional strong signals on the 10, 6, and 2 meter bands? from beyond the radio horizon. That would be sporadic E propagation, 12D. And 13, what health hazard is presented by electrical current flowing through the body? Again, all of these. It may disrupt the electrical functions of cells, it may cause injury by heating tissue, and it may cause involuntary muscle contractions. So 13D. 14, what type of electrical component consists of conductive surfaces separated by an insulator? That's a capacitor. 14C, capacitor. And 15, what weather condition might decrease range at microwave frequencies? That would be precipitation, also known as rain fade, 15B. And 16, which is equal to 1 million picofarads, is the same as 1 microfarad, 16D. And 17, which of the following are typical duties of a net control station? B, they call the net to order and direct communications between stations checking in, 17B. 18, what is the current through a 100 ohm resistor connected across 200 volts? I equals E divided by R, or 200 divided by 100. The answer is 2, 18A, 2 amps. And 19, when may amateur stations transmit information in support of broadcasting, program production, or news, assuming no other means are available? A, this is the exception, when such communications are directly related to the immediate safety of human life or protection of property, 19A. What is the approximate velocity of a radio wave in free space? Same as the speed of light, 300 million meters per second, 20A. And how can you make sure your station stays in compliance with RF safety regulations? By conducting or reevaluating the station whenever an item in the transmitter or antenna system is changed, 21A. And 22, which of the following displays an electrical quantity as a numeric value? That would be a meter, 22C. And 23, which of the following can result in revocation of the station license or suspension of the operator license? Remember, failure to provide and maintain your correct email address with the FCC, 23B. And what is a LEO? Low Earth Orbit, a satellite in low Earth orbit, 24B. And what is an appropriate way to call another station on a repeater if you know the other station's call sign? Say the station's call sign, then identify with your call sign, 25B. And 26, which of the following can be used to enter a transceiver's operating frequency? Well, the big knob, the VFO knob for sure, and then a keypad if the radio has one, so 26A. And what are the names for the electrodes of a diode, the anode, and the cathode, 27D? And what is the approximate length in inches of a half wavelength 6-meter dipole antenna? So if it's going to be a half wavelength, it'll be approximately 3 meters, and you can convert 3 meters to inches, and it's 112 inches, 28B. And 29, which of the following is an important safety rule to remember when using a crank-up tower? Well, this type of tower must not be climbed unless it is retracted or there's mechanical safety locking devices that have been installed because the cable can break. 29A, you don't want that. And 30, which of the following is used to convert a signal from one frequency to another? It can be in a transmitter or it could be in a receiver. That's a mixer stage, 30D, mixer. And 31, electrical power is measured in which of the following units? Watts, 31B. And which amateur band includes 146.52 megahertz? That would be the 2-meter band, 32A. And 33, which of the following is a disadvantage of FM compared with single sideband? It has to do with the discriminator in an FM receiver. Only one signal, the strongest, can be received at a time, 33A. And 34, what is the unit of capacitance? That would be the farad, 34A. And 35, what is the benefit of low standing wave ratio? It's reduced signal loss, both in transmission and reception, 35D. So again, we're looking for 26 correct, no more than 9 answers wrong. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, school's out for this term, and I want to thank you for participating, and I wish you the best of luck. If you are so inclined, if you'd like to come on and give us a donation to help this cause, we don't charge for the classes, we never have, but we do have expenses, and if you would like to help contribute to that, you can go to my website, and the laptop please, Marion, w4eey.com, and right there in the middle is a donate button. You could click on that, and that's a way that you could donate via PayPal or other means. To just give me an email, and if you want to send me a check, I can give you the address, etc. But let us know how you did when you pass your test, and we want to thank you for being just really a great class. Come on back to me, Marion. Let me just go ahead and remove the spotlight. You like my hair tonight? I can't do anything with it. Any comments or questions before we go?
Thank y'all both. Y'all done great.
Thank you.
You did great. All right. 73, and I will see you on the bands. We have a general class starting in January. If you'd like to upgrade, just let me know. 73, y'all. Ciao, ciao.